It was wintertime in the Carolinas. So I did what any red-blooded, self-respecting YouTube cycling content creator would do. I headed to Florida. To stay in a peaceful, beautiful campground, visit the historic coastal village of St. Mark's, and see Tallahassee, the capital of Florida. I wanted to see an ancient lighthouse and an impressive wildlife refuge, not to mention the house that Bobby Bowden made famous. But the main thing on my to-do list was the popular Tallahassee-St. Mark's Historic Railroad State Trail, 42 miles out and back of Florida Panhandle history. What I did not account for was a changing weather forecast that left me freezing, dodging raindrops, and just trying desperately to get a good night's sleep. This trip got crazy, y'all. I'll have all the gory details for you, and the good parts too, on this edition of Joyful Trails. I wanted to do something different on this particular trip. You've heard of No Spend January? I wanted to see if I could pull off a low-spend bike trip. The goal was to spend as little money as possible on this 4-day trip. So I went to a local discount store and bought some inexpensive food items. Not healthy, mind you, but inexpensive, that I could take on the trip. I borrowed a 1-burner propane-fueled camping stove from my ex-wife. Listen, it's complicated, but deep down she really is a nice person. I decided that outside of a drive-through on the way down to Florida and a drive-through on the way back to South Carolina, no eating out. I would just boycott restaurants entirely. No donuts, no bakeries, no ice cream stands. Let's do this. Stick around for a look at the beautiful Tallahassee-St. Mark's Trail. But first, getting there. So I kept a running tally of what I spent on this trip, beginning of course with gas in Greenville, South Carolina. After being on the road for a while, nature called, and while at the rest area, I bought some Skittles. You see, for whatever reason, when I'm driving, I like to have a bag of Skittles handy. If I get sleepy, they perk me right up. So I bought a bag at the rest area for $2. I brought bottled water on the trip and added some energy powder. The goal was to keep me from giving any money whatsoever to the makers of Coke, Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper. As for snacks, I took a bag of pecan halves and a box of Nutri-Grain strawberry bars. So for lunch, it was a Crystal drive-thru in Byron, Georgia. 3 Crystal burgers and a small order of fries with one of my waters to drink. Since I still have an old-school gas engine, I had to stop to refuel in Tifton, and I snacked on an oats and honey granola bar. I had made an unscheduled stop in Macon, Georgia, so by this time I was literally racing the sun, trying desperately to get to my campground near Crawfordville, Florida, before the sun went down. Well, I made it with just enough time to set up camp and cook dinner. The evening meal was a bag of rice and pasta with butter, and another strawberry bar for dessert. I ended up eating at my picnic table in the dark, but I was happy as a flea in a doghouse. My $15 a night campsite came with electricity, a picnic table, and a fire ring. And I settled in for the night after the long drive from South Carolina. That's what I'm talking about right there. Got here late, racing the sun in a place I've never been before. cooking in the dark, doing something I've never done before, and loving every minute of it. Now, a lot of lessons were learned on this trip. One of those lessons was to wait and book your campground closer to the time of your trip. You see, for some reason I was concerned, it might fill up. My space might not be there. So back when I booked this campground, the weather forecast said sunny or partly sunny all 4 days. Well, how many knows the devil is a lie?
Amen.
On this first night, the temperature was down in the 40s and rain was in the forecast. We'll get to that later on, but I went to sleep that first night with visions of St. Marks, Florida, and the Tallahassee-St. Marks Trail dancing in my head. This is St. Marks, Florida, discovered in 1527. One of Florida's oldest settlements, St. Marks was established as a Spanish fort in 1679 at the confluence of the Waukulla and St. Marks rivers. In 1836, Florida's first railroad connected St. Marks to Tallahassee, enhancing its role as a shipping port for a period of time. Located on the Florida Panhandle, not too far from the Gulf of America, St. Marks has a population of 274 and sits on just under 2 square miles. Originally known as San Marcos de Apalache and centered on a Spanish fort, Andrew Jackson in 1818 executed 2 British nationals here. How about that? St. Marks was a seaport for all of Middle Florida and Lower Georgia during its early years. Florida's first and longest-running railroad connected the port of St. Marks with the territorial capital, Tallahassee, some 20 miles inland. It was created in the mid-1800s to transport cotton from plantations to awaiting ships at Port Leon, near the Gulf of America. The line, called the Tallahassee Railroad, was constructed around 1836. The capacity of the St. Marks port was limited, and it was eventually surpassed in the 19th century by the larger port of Apalachicola. St. Marks was finally and officially incorporated as a municipality in 1963. By the way, as I'm getting ready to hit the trail, it's time to try out a sample of some new merch. Don't worry, the Alabama hat isn't going anywhere. Are you kidding me? This thing is practically like one of my children at this point. But I have to try this stuff out before I sell it to you, right? But enough about Spanish forts, Andrew Jackson, and the Gulf of America. We've got a trail to ride. It's the Tallahassee-St. Marks Historic Railroad State Trail. Let's go check it out.
Who am I that the maker of heaven wouldn't love me and know me by name? In a world where I feel like a stranger, His love came and found me the same. In each breath that I breathe, when I wake or I sleep. Everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus. What is love that the God of the heavens would stoop down to love me with grace? In the midst of my pride and rebellion, His love wouldn't give up the chase. In each breath that I breathe, when I wake or I sleep, everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus. Everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus. When I'm lost, when I'm scared, everywhere you are there. Everything that I need is made in you complete. Everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus. Everything I need is found in you. All in you. Everything I need is found in you. Found in you, Jesus.
If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. If you're not enjoying this video, then, just pray about it. I would just pray about it if I were you. No, like, subscribe, share, comment, ring the bell, all of that crap. Appreciate you. Oh, by the way, we're less than 100 people now. As of this taping, less than 100 subscribers away from 10,000. When we get to 10K, we're going to start seriously planning a group ride, and you are invited. Be listening for the details. Stick around for a guided tour of the Newport Campground. But first, how about this trail, huh? Okay, first of all, the name is too long. Tallahassee-St. Mark's Historic Railroad State Trail. What, are you kidding me? We've got to find a way to shorten that. But I digress. This now abandoned rail line that I mentioned earlier serves as the path for this paved trail terminating at the St. Mark's waterfront. Today it's 21 miles of longleaf pines and live oaks, passing 3 different parks along the way. Now, the Tallahassee-St. Mark's Trail proper runs for 16 miles, beginning in St. Mark's and ending at the Capitol Circle Trailhead in Tallahassee, or vice versa if you start in Tallahassee and head south. But there is a 5 or 6 mile extension that takes you all the way into Tallahassee, should you choose to go that way. I did, but not until day 2. Stay tuned for footage of the trail extension on part 2 of this video. But yeah, this state trail has also been designated as a Florida National Scenic Trail, and it's in the Florida Wildlife Corridor, although the only wildlife I saw on this trail was this horse. This was the first rail trail in Florida's system of greenways to be paved, so that's kind of a big deal. The trail does not seem to have a recognizable logo, so let's put some graphic designer to work on that. There is signage, but not enough. Some new informational signs and trailside maps would be nice. The mile markers have seen better days and are easily overlooked. There are several old-school vault toilets along the way as well, and a few modern restrooms with available water. Apart from a few gentle curves near St. Mark's, this trail is long and straight, like just one big, long, straight line. Straight as a board. I'm going to be honest, there's a lack of interesting scenery, at least at this time of year. Now, I'm sure it's prettier when there's a full tree canopy, but there's no bridges, no trestles, no tunnels. The only water you'll see is the St. Mark's River at the very beginning or end of the trail, depending on which way you're headed. E-bikes are allowed, but the speed limit is 20 miles per hour. You will see lots of these old twisted trees. I think they are Florida live oaks, and I just love them. This trail passes by lots of houses of all different shapes, sizes, and types. In fact, are you familiar with the Florida man trope? I think I found his house. This place is right on the trail. I think this is where the Florida man lives. And just a short distance away is this nice home with chilling warning signs in the front yard. North Florida, am I right? There are many, many road crossings, but not a lot of traffic on those crossing streets. There is a good distance, however, where there's just a strip of earth between this trail and a pretty busy road, so cars are always nearby. And look, there's a lending library that has seen better days. Let's see if we can open this without the door falling off. Oh yeah. Oh hey, look. Oddly, there's a book about Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Just what your children need to learn about. My gosh. By the way, there's also an actual library right on this trail. Hey, I have a question. What happened to these wooden trailhead thingies that used to be on this trail? At, I think, 3 different trailheads. They're gone now. I was looking forward to seeing those because they were impressive and kind of set this trail apart a little bit, gave it something unique, you know? I asked 2 or 3 people and nobody seemed to know what happened to them. Do you know? If you know, please let me know in the comments below. There are some signs of the old historic railroad that have been preserved. There are benches for resting all along the trail, as well as some picnic areas. So I stopped before turning around and enjoyed a snack at the Capitol Circle Trailhead. Man, I just got to give this church some props, bro. Give this church a shout out. They have this sign here that says, "We invite all of you who come by the church on the bike path to join us on Sundays." Then here's another sign that says, "Jesus said, 'Everyone who drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst.'" And look, it's like an old school well, but it's a water fountain. Now here's the test. The test is going to be if this water fountain actually works. Y'all know how I feel about water fountains that are dry. Let's see. How about this? Whoa! Check that out. Wow. Nice job, Wakula Methodist, or Wakula, however you say it. By the way, you can also get in some good trailside exercise in the parks along the way. Hey, if you're wondering where to park on the St. Mark's end, check this out. Here's where the trail starts, and just across the street, there's plenty of free parking. When I got to the end of the trail, it felt and looked like rain was moving in. Not good. Stick around to find out if I stayed dry, and also for an update on how the low-spend weekend is going. But first, how about this Newport campground, huh? One thing I like to do, and I think this goes back to my teen years, so thanks, Dad, but it's to just walk around the campground and check out the way that others are traveling and living. Look at these cool retro-looking motorhomes. There were 2 of them. Never seen them before. But this campground is nice, especially for the low price that I paid as a tent camper. It sits on ground that was once the town of Magnolia, Florida. I enjoyed reading the history of the area. Downsides would include being so close to a busy road. There were times, as I lay in my tent, that when an 18-wheeler would pass by or a pickup truck driven by some local good old boy, it literally sounded like a freight train was bearing down on my tent. The other thing is that this campground, while pretty and comfortable, it just lacks the professional touches of a KOA. For example, there is a bathhouse for showers and everything, but it's just lacking the polish of a more professional campground. So hey, what your dad always told you is still true. You get what you pay for. There was no swimming pool or game room or any of that stuff, but this place did have an amenity or two that you just don't find at a lot of higher priced campgrounds. 2 wooden boardwalks leading you on a nature walk through lush vegetation, and waiting at the end of the boardwalks is the St. Mark's River. How about that? Sorry, no swimming or diving allowed. That's too bad. I was really excited about I was super excited about swimming in gator-infested river water. Not. After riding the Tallahassee-St. Mark's Trail, the only thing on my agenda before bedtime was to cook dinner while raindrops were beginning to fall. By the way, how are we doing on the low-spend bike trail trip? Hey, I'm on track, on target. No milkshakes, I'm managing to stay out of restaurants, no donut shops, no bakeries, no ice cream stands. Doing pretty good. I did see some places, though, with interesting names, and man, I wanted to go there so bad. By the end, I tell you what, by the end of day 3, I wanted a hamburger so bad, I was ready to just walk up and slug somebody. Don't know what good that would have done. That would have been assault and I would have gone to jail. Maybe they would have fed me a hamburger. Maybe they would have fed me a hamburger at the county jail. Anyway, you know that St. Mark's Seafood, the Riverside Cafe, and Cooter Stew Burgers and Wraps would have been amazing. But I wanted to stick to my low-spend plan, and so far, I've been able to. By the way, in the Part 2 video of this trip, I'll take you to the St. Mark's Wildlife Refuge and ride the trail extension all the way into Tallahassee, not to mention our exclusive Joyful Trails star rating. You don't want to miss any of that, so be looking for part 2. If you're still watching this video, you're either a Joyful Trails superfan or a glutton for punishment. Either way, thank you. If you would like to show some support for the channel, you can buy some merch or leave a super thanks. Gracias, amigos. So, by the time I left on this trip, I knew that rain was coming. One lesson I learned on this trip was to not book a campground so far out in advance, even if I'm afraid the campground will be full. So I had not yet spent a night in this tent while it was raining. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to stay dry. I seriously considered ditching my plan, just eating the money that I spent on the campground and trying to find a hotel. But I didn't. Would I survive the night or be washed away? Would I stay dry? Would I get any sleep at all? For the answers to these and other questions, stay tuned for our Part 2 video of the Tallahassee-St. Mark's Historic Railroad State Trail. Oh boy, I'm in trouble. I still think that name is too long.